I smiled in thanks. Then the alien queen offered me her sacred brood token. The transport's hull shuddered as something massive struck the outer plating. I pressed my daughter Mira closer to my chest, her small fingers clutching my uniform jacket. Around us, the other human diplomats muttered prayers in a dozen languages. We'd been assured safe passage to the Cathari homeworld. That promise meant nothing now. "Papa, what's happening?" Mira whispered against my shoulder. "Everything's fine," I lied, keeping my voice steady despite the sweat trickling down my spine. The lights flickered. Another impact, this time strong enough to tear a groaning sound from the ship's framework. Through the viewport, I caught a glimpse of obsidian scales sliding past, each one larger than our entire vessel. The Cathari patrol ship had appeared without warning, its weapons trained on our diplomatic shuttle the moment we crossed into their territory. Our pilot had broadcast our clearance codes 3 times. No response, just that enormous vessel closing in, forcing us toward their capital city far below. I'd brought Mira because Earth Command insisted. "Show them we trust them enough to bring our families," they'd said. Demonstrate human vulnerability. Now those words felt like ash in my mouth. The ship lurched downward. My stomach dropped as we plummeted through thick purple clouds. When we broke through, I saw it. The Cathari capital sprawling across jagged black mountains, its spires cutting into the sky like broken teeth. At its heart, a crystalline palace reflected the light of twin suns. We crashed into the landing bay with enough force to knock everyone from their seats. Mira's cry of pain shot through me. I checked her quickly, bruised but whole. The other diplomats weren't as fortunate. Ambassador Chen clutched a bleeding gash on his forehead. Dr. Samuels cradled a broken wrist. The airlock hissed open before we could gather ourselves. Cathari soldiers poured in, their chitinous armor gleaming, weapons raised. They were twice our height, their faces hidden behind ceremonial masks that resembled screaming skulls. I'd seen recordings, studied their culture for months. Nothing prepared me for the reality of them. "Down," their commander barked in heavily accented standard. "All down. Now." The cold floor pressed against my knees. Mira trembled beside me, trying to be brave. I wanted to hold her but didn't dare move. The soldiers circled us, their clawed feet clicking against metal. "Where is the human called Marcus Webb?" the commander demanded. My throat tightened. "I am." A soldier grabbed my arm, hauling me upright with enough force to nearly dislocate my shoulder. Mira screamed. "Papa, don't touch her." I struggled, but the soldier's grip was iron. "She's just a child." "Silence." The commander stepped closer, examining me through the eye slits of his mask. "You are summoned to the Brood Palace. You will come. The spawn stays. No." The word left my mouth before wisdom could stop it. "Wherever I go, my daughter goes with me." The soldier holding me tightened his grip until I felt my bones grinding together. The commander tilted his head, a gesture I'd learned indicated confusion or anger. My heart hammered against my ribs. This was how humans died on alien worlds, making demands when they had no power. "You do not command here, human." I know. I forced myself to meet his gaze, or where I thought his gaze was behind that mask. But I am responsible for her. Whatever you do to me, let me keep her safe. That's all I ask. Silence stretched. Around us, the other diplomats held their breath. Finally, the commander made a sharp gesture. "Bring the spawn, but if she disrupts the audience, both die." They marched us through corridors carved from living stone, each wall covered in murals depicting Cathari history. I recognized scenes from their founding myths, the first queen hatching alone in darkness, clawing her way to the surface, building an empire from barren rock. Their civilization was ancient when humanity still lived in caves. Mira's hand found mine. I squeezed gently, trying to give her courage I didn't feel. We passed chambers where Cathari nobles watched our procession with unreadable expressions. Some touched their chest plates in what I hoped was a gesture of acknowledgement rather than contempt. The throne room doors stood 3 stories tall, engraved with symbols I couldn't decipher. They opened silently despite their size. Beyond lay a chamber so vast my eyes struggled to comprehend the scale. Pillars of black crystal supported a ceiling that seemed to touch the sky. At the far end, elevated on a dais of carved bone, sat the Brood Queen. She was enormous. Her lower body coiled beneath her like a serpent's, disappearing into shadows. Her upper torso was humanoid enough to be disturbing, covered in scales that shifted between green and gold in the light. 4 arms, each tipped with claws that could tear through steel, and her face narrow, angular, with compound eyes that reflected our images back 1,000 times. "Approach," she commanded. Her voice resonated in my chest, ancient and absolute. Each step felt like moving through water. The throne room was lined with Cathari of obvious importance, their armor more elaborate than the soldiers. They watched us with predatory stillness. When we reached the base of the dais, the guards forced us to our knees again. Mira pressed against my side, silent now but shaking. The Queen studied us for a long moment. "You are Marcus Webb, Chief Xenobiologist. You studied our species from afar." "Yes, Your Majesty." My voice sounded small in that massive space. "You wrote that we were fascinating creatures with complex social structures, deserving of respect and careful study." She leaned forward slightly. "You advocated for first contact when your military wanted containment. I hadn't known they'd monitored our communications so thoroughly. I believe that understanding between our species is possible." "Understanding?" She repeated the word as if tasting it. "You bring your spawn to our world." "Why?" "I was told it would show trust." The words felt inadequate now. "Trust. Your leaders send you a sacrifice. They know we are angry. They know we consider their last delegation's actions an insult worthy of extinction, so they send you, the sympathetic one, with your small spawn, hoping we will show mercy for her sake." The truth of it hit me like a physical blow. Ambassador Chen had botched the last contact by refusing to observe basic Cathari protocols. Earth Command knew retaliation was coming, so they'd sent me, expendable but likable enough to maybe soften the blow. "I didn't know," I whispered. "No."
"You believed in your mission."
The Queen's attention shifted to Mira Child. "Look at us." Mira's grip on my arm tightened. I wanted to tell her it was okay to hide, but that would only make things worse. "Mira," I said softly. "It's all right." She lifted her head slowly. Tears streaked her face, but she met the Queen's gaze without looking away. For a 7-year-old facing an alien monarch who could order her death with a word, she showed remarkable courage. The Queen made a sound, a clicking deep in her throat. The assembled nobles shifted, a ripple of movement through their ranks. She is afraid, but she does not cower. She is small, but she protects her sire with her body even now. How many cycles has she survived? So young to face death. The Queen rose from her throne, her coiled lower body unfolding. She was even larger standing, her shadow engulfing us completely. "Your species matures slowly, weak, fragile. Yet you accomplish much in your short lives."
She descended the dais. Each movement was deliberate, graceful despite her size.
My instinct screamed to grab Mira and run, but there was nowhere to go. The guards had sealed the doors behind us. The Queen stopped 3 feet away. This close, I could see the intricate patterns in her scales, the way her multiple eyes tracked every micro-movement we made. Our last clutch was destroyed by contamination. 17 eggs, each containing a future queen or consort. All lost because your previous delegation brought disease they swore they did not carry. Your Majesty, I'm so sorry. They were our future. Our species breeds rarely, with great difficulty. Each loss threatens our survival. Her claws flexed. By our law, the guilty must pay, but they have fled back to your world. So you pay instead. I pulled Mira behind me. "Kill me if you must, but please, she's innocent." "Send her home." "Papa, no." Mira's voice broke. The Queen's head tilted. "You offer yourself readily." "Why?" "Because she's my daughter. Because her life has barely begun. Because if someone has to die for humanity's mistakes, better me than her." The words tumbled out. I spent my whole career studying species I'd never meet. I got to do work I loved. I got to raise an incredible child. If my death buys her life, that's enough. The Queen was silent for so long I thought she might be deciding how to kill us. Then she spoke, her voice softer than before. "You would die for your spawn without hesitation. This is truth." "And yet you smiled?" The statement confused me. I don't understand. "When you first saw our city from your vessel, when you walked our halls, when you stood before us. Despite your fear, despite knowing death waited, you smiled. We saw it, all of us saw it." I thought back. She was right. Even terrified, I'd been awed by the beauty of their architecture, the grace of their movement, the sheer alienness that had fascinated me for years. Part of me had been thrilled to see it all up close, even at the end. "I've wanted to meet your people my whole adult life," I said quietly. "Even like this, it's remarkable." This time the nobles responded with their own clicks, creating a rhythm that filled the chamber. The other humans came with demands and disrespect. You come with wonder. The other humans saw us as obstacles to negotiate. You see us as worth dying to protect your spawn from, but also worth admiring in your final moments. She reached out with one clawed hand. I forced myself not to flinch as those talons came within inches of my face. Instead, she touched Mira's head gently, carefully, each movement controlled. And this small one faces a queen of Cathara without begging. She cries, yes. She fears yes. But she stands with her sire. She does not abandon him to save herself. Mira leaned into my side. I won't leave Papa. The queen withdrew her hand. You are both fools. Brave, honorable fools. She turned to her assembled court. The human species is strange. Weak flesh, short lives, but fierce hearts. They love their young with desperate intensity. This one would die 1,000 times for his spawn. That is worth considering. She faced us again. Marcus Webb. We summoned you here to execute you publicly, to send a message to your people that insults against the Cathari carry consequences. It was our intention. I tried to think of final words, something Mira could carry home with her. But our law also speaks of the right of substitution. A life debt paid not in death but in service. It is rarely invoked. But these are rare circumstances. The queen returned to her throne, settling her massive form upon it. We propose an exchange. You will remain here. You will teach us about your species, truly teach us, not the sanitized reports your governments provide. You will help us understand why humans act as they do. And in time, when the next clutch is laid, you will ensure no human contamination threatens them. You will be their guardian. For how long? In human years, approximately 15 of your years. 15 years. Mira would be grown before I returned. I'd miss her entire childhood. The price was staggering.
But she would live.
She would grow up. And my daughter returns home, unharmed, with our assurance that no retaliation will be taken against Earth, provided you fulfill your service. Appa, please don't. Please come home. I knelt down, taking both her hands in mine. Tears blurred my vision. Mira, sweetheart, I need you to be brave a little longer. Can you do that for me? I don't want to leave you here.
I know. I don't want that either.
But this way you get to go home. You'll see Mom again. You'll start school. You'll have the life you're supposed to have. I brushed her hair back from her face. And 15 years isn't forever. You'll be all grown up, but I'll still be your papa. I'll still love you. That won't change. Promise? And I'll send messages when I can. This isn't goodbye forever. It's just a long time apart. She hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. I held her, memorizing the feel of her in my arms, knowing it would have to last years. Over her head, I met the Queen's gaze. I accept your terms, Your Majesty, on the condition that my daughter is escorted safely home and that Earth is informed this debt is mine alone. No other humans should suffer for what happened. Agreed. The Queen gestured to her guards. Prepare the human spawn for transport. She leaves within the hour. The guards moved forward, but gently this time. One knelt beside Mira. Come, small one. We will see you safely home. Mira clung to me. Papa, I love you so much. I kissed her forehead. Be good for Mom. Study hard. And don't forget about me, okay? Never. They led her away. She looked back at me until the doors closed, her tear-stained face breaking my heart. The throne room felt colder without her. The Queen watched me carefully. Grieve. This is good. It means you understand the weight of your choice. Yes, Your Majesty.
When you held her, when you made your promise.
Even in sorrow you find moments of joy. This also is strange. She gestured to a chamber off to the side. You will be housed in the Scholar's Wing. Comfortable, but guarded. Your lessons begin tomorrow. For now, we offer you time to compose yourself. I bowed, not trusting my voice. A different guard led me through side passages to a room that was indeed comfortable. Large bed, desk, even a window overlooking the city. Once alone, I collapsed onto the bed and let the tears come. But beneath the grief, something else stirred. Purpose. The Queen had given me a chance to bridge two species, to prevent future tragedies, to make something meaningful from this sacrifice. It wasn't the life I'd planned, but it was a life that mattered. I stood and approached the window. The twin suns were setting, painting the city in shades of amber and violet. beautiful. Home for the next 15 years. I allowed myself one more moment of sorrow for the time I'd lose with Mira. Then I straightened my shoulders and began planning tomorrow's lessons. I had work to do. Days blended into weeks. The Queen summoned me daily, sometimes alone, sometimes with her advisors. They asked endless questions about human culture, biology, psychology. I answered honestly, holding nothing back. If this was to work, they needed to understand us completely, our strengths and our countless flaws. 3 months into my service, I was working in the archives when a commotion echoed through the palace. Guards rushed past my door. Alarm calls rang out in the Cathari language I was slowly learning. I stepped into the corridor carefully. A junior scholar named Thessic spotted me. "The clutch chamber." "Something's wrong." I ran. The clutch chamber was sacred ground, forbidden to outsiders. But if something threatened the eggs, protocol be damned. I arrived to find the Queen herself in the chamber, surrounded by her most trusted attendants. 17 crystalline eggs rested in carefully maintained nests. One was cracked. "What happened?" I asked. The Queen's eyes fixed on me. "You should not be here." "I know, but I'm supposed to protect them." "Tell me what's wrong." She was silent for a moment, then gestured to the cracked egg. "Premature hatching. The shell integrity failed. If it continues, the infant will die. Our healers cannot determine why." I approached slowly, studying the egg with a biologist's eye. The crack ran in an unusual pattern, not from internal pressure, but from external stress. "May I examine it more closely? If you can help, yes." I knelt beside the egg, using my scanner to analyze its composition. The data made me pause. "Your Majesty, this isn't hatching. Something compromised the shell from the outside. A microorganism, possibly fungal. The chamber is sterilized constantly. Not well enough." I showed her the readings. "This is similar to a contamination we've seen on Earth in bird eggs. It's treatable if caught early, but you need to check all the eggs immediately and quarantine this one before it spreads." The Queen's expression was unreadable. She could have me killed for the presumption. Instead, she ordered her healers to follow my instructions. We worked through the night, testing and treating each egg. By dawn, the contamination was contained. 1 egg was lost, but 16 survived. The Queen dismissed everyone except me. We stood alone in the chamber, surrounded by the future of her species. "You saved them," she said quietly. "I did what I was brought here to do." "No. You were brought here as punishment. This went beyond your obligation." She moved to the eggs, touching each one with a tenderness that reminded me of how I'd held Mira. "You could have let them die. Shortened your service. Returned home sooner." That thought never crossed my mind. "We know. That is why you are remarkable." She turned to face me fully. "In Cathari culture, there is a debt beyond words. When someone saves a Queen's clutch, they become eternally bonded to the brood. It is our highest honor." Before I could respond, she reached beneath her chest plate and withdrew something I'd only seen in historical texts, a brood token. It was small, carved from the same bone material as her throne, inscribed with symbols representing her lineage. "This cannot be given to outsiders. Our law forbids it. But our law also recognizes that some bonds transcend species." She held it out to me. "You are guardian of the clutch, Marcus Webb. When these eggs hatch, you will be recognized as kin. Your daughter will be recognized as kin. Your people will be recognized as potential allies rather than threats." I stared at the token, understanding the magnitude of what she offered. This was more than personal honor. This was a bridge between species. A foundation for peace. Everything I'd hoped for when I first advocated for contact. My hand shook as I accepted the token. It was warm, almost alive in my palm. "Your Majesty, I don't know what to say." "Smile as you did before. Show us that wonder again." So I did. I smiled through my tears, holding a piece of alien culture in my hand, thinking of Mira growing up back on Earth, knowing that this sacrifice was building something beautiful. The Queen made that clicking sound, approval I'd learned. Her court would be scandalized. The hardliners would protest. But she was Queen, and her word was absolute. "The eggs will hatch in approximately 1 year," she said. "You will be there. You will help raise them. Teach them about your species, yes, but also—" She paused, searching for words. "Teach them to smile at wonder like you do. Teach them that different does not mean enemy. Can you do this? I can." That night, I sent my first message to Earth in months. I told them about the Brood token, about the chance for real alliance. And I told Mira that Papa was doing important work that would make the universe a little safer for everyone, work that was worth the time apart. Her response came weeks later, delayed by the vast distance between worlds. A simple video of her holding a drawing she'd made, me standing beside a Cathari queen, both of us surrounded by little hatchlings. At the bottom, written in her careful script, "I'm proud of you, Papa. Come home when you can." On hard days, when the isolation felt crushing, I would look at it and remember why I'd chosen this path, not just for Mira's life, but for the possibility that someday human children and Cathari hatchlings might grow up in a galaxy where they didn't fear each other. The year passed, I learned the Cathari language fluently, studied their customs, earned the respect of their scholars and the grudging acceptance of their warriors. When the eggs began to hatch, I was there as promised, helping the Queen's attendants manage the delicate process. 17 hatchlings emerged, smaller than I expected, but fierce and curious. They imprinted on the Queen first, as was proper. Then, to the shock of the assembled court, she brought me forward and presented me as guardian. The hatchlings studied me with ancient eyes, deciding whether to accept or reject the alien in their midst. The boldest one, later named Thessera, approached and headbutted my hand. The others followed. By the end of the day, I was covered in 17 sets of tiny claw marks, and had never felt more honored in my life. I raised them alongside their Cathari caretakers, taught them human languages and human games, showed them pictures of Earth, explained why my species did confusing things like laugh or cry or hug. They grew quickly, their minds sharp and endlessly questioning. And yes, I taught them to appreciate wonder, to see beauty in differences, to approach the unknown with curiosity rather than fear. 10 years into my service, the Queen summoned me to her private chambers. She'd aged, subtle changes in her scales, a slowness in her movements. Cathari lived centuries, but ruling took its toll. "The hatchlings have become juveniles," she said. "They no longer need constant supervision. Your primary duty is fulfilled. You're releasing me from service early?" "No. We are offering you a choice." She settled onto her couch, her lower body coiling comfortably. "You may complete your remaining 5 years and return to Earth as agreed. Or you may stay, not as guardian under obligation, but as scholar by choice. We would grant you full status in the court. Your family could visit, even relocate if they wished. You would be free to leave whenever you desired, but always welcome to return." I thought of Earth, of Mira, now 17 years old, of everything I'd missed. My heart ached with longing. But I also thought of Thessera and her siblings, who called me teacher in their clicking language, of the research I was conducting, of the friendships I'd formed with Cathari scholars, of the good work happening here. May I have time to consider? Of course. This is not a decision to make lightly. I walked the palace gardens that night, surrounded by bioluminescent plants that had once seemed alien but now felt familiar. I sent a message to Mira explaining the choice. Her response came faster now. We had established better communication relays. "Papa, you should stay if that's where your heart is. I miss you every day. But I'm also so proud of what you've built there. And I'd really love to visit, see these aliens you keep talking about. Meet my honorary siblings." A pause in the video. "Besides, I'm applying to xenobiology programs. Someone has to carry on the family tradition." She'd become everything I hoped. Thoughtful, brave, open to the universe's vastness, and she was giving me permission to follow my own path. I accepted the Queen's offer. 5 years later, when Mira graduated from university, she came to visit. Watching her interact with Thessera and the others, seeing the wonder in her eyes as she explored the Cathari homeworld, I knew I'd made the right choice. The Brood token hung around my neck, its weight a constant reminder. I'd come here expecting to die. Instead, I'd found a new purpose, helped raise a generation that would reshape Cathari-human relations, and built a bridge between worlds. Sometimes in the quiet moments, I still thought about that terrified man kneeling in the throne room, holding his daughter close, certain his life was over. I wished I could tell him that the ending he feared was actually a beginning, that a smile offered in genuine appreciation would change everything, that the alien queen's sacred token would become a symbol of hope recognized across dozens of worlds. But he'd find out soon enough. Every story has its turns, every sacrifice its meaning. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, the universe gives you more than you dared imagine. I smiled as I walked through the palace, heading to the teaching hall where 17 eager minds waited. Wonder, it turned out, was the most powerful tool for building peace, and I had plenty more to share.